I knew they weren't county deputies the moment a red laser danced across my barn door, because the only rifle capable of producing it belonged to my best friend, and she was 2 stories above me. Red rock. Acres absorbs dusk the way sandstone, gulps sunlight in spectacular color. That night I was rinsing dust off my 1914 windmill, admiring the peach to indigo gradient over the ridge, when twin matte black SUVs crawled down the caliche track toward my 15-acre ranch. On their doors, gold shield decals proclaimed Ridgeview Lakeside HOA Enforcement. The logo looked official enough to fool a city slicker, but any rancher south of the county line knew Ridgeview's covenants ended 2 miles north at the dry arroyo. They had no jurisdiction here. The passenger window rolled down. A bullhorn squawked. This property violates Section 12B, unauthorized encroachment on HOA greenbelt, step clear of all structures, seizure in progress. Seizure? There's no greenbelt for 30 miles. Only mesquite, rattlers, and my grandfather's. Barns. But I felt calm, almost amused, because perched inside the east loft hay window was Lena Huerta, my tenant, business partner, and spotter from 2 tours in Afghanistan. Her Barrett M107 rested on sandbags. A side-mounted PEQ laser traced lazy circles across clapboard. The intruders saw the dot and assumed we were being targeted. We were, but by our own guardian angel. 3 uniforms, mismatched holsters. On clipboard, Lena murmured through a bone conduction earpiece she'd handed me earlier. "Ready when you call it?" I nodded once, unseen from her vantage, and walked toward the SUVs. The first man out, square-jawed, buzz-cut, roid vein, throbbing, wore aviators despite the fading light. Let's call him Harris. He brandished a laminated badge the size of a hotel keycard. 2 accomplices fanned out, one cradling a baton, the other lodging bolt cutters in gloved fists. The way they moved, slow, swaggering, hands never far from sidearms, screamed wannabe militia starved for legitimacy. Harris examined a forged plat map. "These barns are 120 feet inside HOA's scenic reserve. We're exercising eminent covenant seizure." He waved at my century-old hay barn and pole shed as if auctioning them. "Eminent covenant?" I chuckled. "That's not a statute, it's—" "Word salad. Smart mouth," he snarled. "Sign voluntary release, or we'll remove the structures with heavy equipment tonight." "There's a crane en route," I faced him square. "County assessor verified my deed last year. Your reserve ends at milepost 18. Behind me, the crimson laser dot drifted to Harris's breast pocket, a silent punctuation. He didn't notice, but his partner Lawson did. His gaze flicked to the barn loft, then to the ridge. He shifted uneasily. Lena's whisper tickled my ear. "Bolt cutter guy trending right, 95 yards. Wind calm. Permission?" Her finger hovered on the trigger of a silenced .22 chambered in a Ruger bolt gun, her favorite for non-lethal deterrence. I sighed, loud enough for Harris. "Last chance. Leave before you embarrass yourselves." He smirked, tapping the brim of his cap. "Seize the fence, boys." Bolt cutter man, later ID'd as Lawson, strode toward my barbed wire line. The bolt jaws spread wide. 30 head of longhorns beyond the fence raised their skulls, snorting. Pop! The sound barely cracked air. A spark leapt off the bolt cutter hinge. Metal rang. Lawson yelped and flung the tool like a scalded snake. All 3 officers froze. One touched his chest as if expecting a hole. I spoke into the hush. "My spotter just kissed your hardware. The next round isn't going to be so polite." Harris's bravado flickered. He scanned the ridge, but saw only crimson rock and dusk. Sweat haloed his collar. Yet instead of backing down, he reached for his sidearm. That was his worst mistake. Nicole's voice, polite, firm, sounded behind him. She'd left the loft, circled downhill. The muzzle of her Glock 19 nuzzled the nape of his neck. "Hands off metal, cowboy!" Harris stiffened. Lawson raised palms. The third man trembled near the SUV, baton limp as wilted celery. Sheriff sirens howled across the arroyo. My earlier speed dial text to Sheriff Diaz had paid off faster than a cavalry horn in an old John Ford picture. Blue whites strobed across. Mesquite as two deputies fish-tailed onto my drive. Lena disarmed the first pistol. Deputies cuffed the trio face down in gravel. I guided Bolt Cutter Man to a water trough to rinse the powder tattoo burned onto his knuckles. He whimpered something about just doing my job. So am I said, protecting my land. Deputies unfolded camp chairs for portable booking. The inventory was damning. 3 9mm Glocks with serials filed, a binder of forged county approvals, blank HOA lien notices, 2 sets of slap-on magnetic shields, 30 in each. Sheriff Diaz arrived, straw Stetson, denim jacket sporting a deputy rookie patch sewn by his granddaughter. He flicked through the forged papers under headlamp. "They filed these maps yesterday," he muttered. "Recorded at county clerk with a notary's. Stolen stamp, ballsy." He turned to me. "Nate, mind if we store the SUVs in your north paddock until we get a flatbed? Long as the goats don't chew the tires." Diaz grinned. "Goats got good taste." While deputies taped crime scene markers, Diaz pressed Harris. "Who hired you?" Silence. Lena whispered, "Check his left boot." Deputy Summers knelt. Found a burner flip phone inside his cuff. On it, texts from Ridgeview HOA President Garvey. 3 hours till Crane. Hit his alarms, get him out. Paperwork filed. County won't intervene. Seize water rights docs. Bonus if he signs. Diaz whistled. Garvey thinks he's John Dutton. He pocketed the phone as evidence. Booking lasted past midnight. Deputies towed the SUVs. Lena cleaned her rifle, replaced the hayloft boards shaped by barrel recoil. I filed a detailed affidavit. Morning sunlight glinted off broken bolt cutters. Still lying near the fence. Over coffee, Lena reviewed ballistic spreadsheets. Each spent 22, logged with GPS coordinates because paper trails scare bullies. I drafted a group email to Ridgeview homeowners summarizing the incident. I attached drone footage I'd captured months ago, showing the arroyo as legal boundary. I included county clerk PDFs, proving Garvey's forged expansions. Within hours, Ridgeview's internal forum lit up, board forging lot lines. Did Garvey send hired guns? Anger thickened. Overnight, a petition for director recall accrued 212 signatures, above the required quorum. Local station KRZX parked a satellite van outside the county courthouse, microphone in my face. I guided them to Sheriff Diaz's press conference. He displayed seized guns, badges, and the forged plat maps on an evidence board. Reporters gasped when he said, "These men were paid from an HOA slush fund. They wore no recognized license. They committed armed criminal impersonation and attempted grand theft." Garvey tried counterspin, "Our security misunderstood boundaries." But KRZX aired the burner phone texts, and his alibi crashed. The county attorney impaneled a grand jury within 10 days. Indictments landed. Garvey on racketeering and conspiracy. Harris's trio on aggravated trespass with weapons, impersonating officers, assault with firearm. Bail set at 6 figures. A week later, community members of both HOAs filled the Redstone Civic Auditorium for the Great Red Rock hearing. The mood felt like Friday night football meets town hall, angry, packed, sweaty. A veteran neighbor roared from the floor, "We fought real wars. We don't need fake soldiers on HOA pay." The interim Ridgeview vice president, shaking, announced abrogation of all seizure policies. They offered me a settlement check for any inconvenience. I laughed, pushed it back. "Our negotiation begins with your resignation and a public apology. After that, we'll talk about fences and water rights." The crowd cheered. 6 months later, Judge Beatrice Ward glared down at the defendants. The prosecution's opening, "These men were not officers. They were mercenaries guided by greed." They presented drone overlays, fingerprinted forged documents, the intercepted burner texts, all culminating in body cam of Lena's warning shot and the chaotic scramble. Lena took the stand in crisp khakis, Texas flag lapel pin. Prosecutor Wynne asked, why use a .22? Non-lethal deterrence. A .50 could punch through engine block but wasn't warranted yet. Jury's eyes widened. Defense tried painting her as vigilante. She smiled politely. Sir, in Afghanistan, I logged 3,000 meters with a crosswind. If I'd intended harm, we'd be discussing a coroner report. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. I testified next, explaining boundary lines, water rights valuations, and how forging plats threatened livelihoods county-wide. The jury scribbled notes. Some jurors nodded vigorously. After 2 weeks of testimony, the jury delivered guilty on all counts. Harris got 18 years, Lawson 14, Boltcutter third 11. Garvey later accepted a plea, 10 years plus $2 million restitution to affected landowners, including me. Civil suits blossomed like desert sage after rain. My counsel, Maricela Arroyo, uncovered that Ridgeview board funneled $400K of dues into enforcement actions, none disclosed. Homeowners joined a class action, insurer balked, then settled. $7.5 million split among plaintiffs. My share funded fencing upgrades, solar well pumps, and a scholarship for veterans studying land conservation. But the real win was legislative. County Commissioner Darla Moon sponsored the Private Security Transparency Ordinance, requiring all HOA guards to carry visible state IDs, no badges, no lights, no batons without licensing. It passed 5-0. Nearby counties copied it. The state Senate drafted a mirror bill called Lena's Law. With restitution, I built a covered, wheelchair-accessible 200-yard range behind the barns. Lena's idea: train farmers and ranch kids in precision riflery, ethics, and de-escalation. We called it Red Rock Responsible Arms, RRA. High school FFA chapters bust students in on weekends. Lena runs Spotter School Level 1, identifies fake authority, verifies credentials, uses non-violent deterrence, warning lights, radios, and, only last, accurate marksmanship. Sheriff Diaz guest lectures, praising partnerships between law enforcement and informed citizens. Local newspapers dubbed our program the Civic Militia Done Right. A year to the day, the desert sky again glows peach to indigo. I lean on a corral rail while Lena instructs a class of teens. A lanky sophomore asks why we emphasize restraint. She points at the old bolt cutter hung on the range wall. Bullet, dent still visible. Because one precise warning is worth 100 sloppy shots, she says. That dent changed county policy more than any bullet hole in flesh could. Out front, a new hand-painted plank swings from iron posts. Welcome to Red Rock Acres property, monitored by licensed deputies, responsible owners, and veterans with patience trespass politely, depart peacefully. I exhale, feeling the land settle. No SUVs prowl, only coyotes yip on distant mesas. Lena steps beside me, rifle slung. Nice night, she says. No lasers required. For now, I answer, smiling, but we'll keep the batteries charged. Because vigilance isn't paranoia, it's stewardship. When false authority tries to wear real power's mask, a steady eye behind a scope and a righteous community beside it will always see through the disguise. We learned that under crimson twilight and confirmed it in a courtroom of peers. And as long as ridges rim the ranch and sunsets bleed gold into dust, Red Rock Acres will stand unseized, unbowed, and utterly prepared for any bully, HOA or otherwise, who dares forget whose land this truly is.